Hello everyone to part 3 of the DevOps path video. I want to remind you this is just 1 month's opinion. If you rather follow a different path, please do so by all means. This is just a path that I would recommend to get your first DevOps SRE jobs. I want to also remind you, you do not have to be expert in any of these. You just have to be decent at it. I also want to remind you that nobody knows all of these things, nobody. So if you're missing one or two of these things, that's okay to get your first job. So when I finished up the second part of the video, I mentioned Jenkins. Let's move on to certification. I have another video. You should look that up. If I have time, I will put a link to that in the description. How getting one certification, helps you get your first job because it grabs attention from the recruiters and the hiring managers. There are certifications that don't count, like Cloud Practitioner, but anything like AWS Developer One, AWS Architect One, or Terraform Associate, or Google DevOps ones, I forget the names of them, Google Cloud certifications. Get one certification, whichever one you find the easiest. Get that one, put on your LinkedIn profile, put on your resume. That will put you ahead of anybody who doesn't have a certification and has the same level of experience that you do. So if you have 1 year's experience and certification, you will get the first call. If you have no experience, before a recruiter calls somebody else without certification, they will call you, right? They will reach out to you. So and this is why I put the line here, because I found the other three optional, but I do think certification, it helps so much getting your first job, that I made it before this requirement line, right? So yeah, go get your certification. Next thing you want to learn, this is optional, is Kubernetes. This is a broad topic. It'd be good if you knew what it was, what it does, and the more you know about Kubernetes, better off it is today, because startups these days, when they have greenfield, meaning they can start fresh, they almost always choose Docker for their development, and they put Docker containers on Kubernetes. So if you're going to a startup, chances are very high they're using Kubernetes. It is not a requirement. You will learn on the job if you're getting your first DevOps job, but it would help a lot. YAML is now becoming almost a default language for infrastructure, declarative infrastructure. We'll talk about that in a different video. But YAML is how you write code to deploy to the cloud or Kubernetes clusters, right? So if you know just a little bit about YAML, that would help a lot. And if you're so inclined, you can learn shell scripting. That is totally optional, but if you know a little bit of that, that would help a lot. So again, let me check the time, 2 minutes. So again, this is my recommended path to getting your first DevOps job or SRE job. And you can follow somebody else's path, no problem. This is just my path. And again, I want to reiterate, nobody knows all of these things. That's not how it works. As long as you know most of these things at a decent level, that's good enough to get your first job. And also, the last three are optional. The first 10 or so, I consider a requirement before you get your first job. It's not impossible, but it's harder to get a job if you're not familiar with all of this. The last thing I want to leave you with is get familiar with each of these things first before digging deeper, because otherwise you're going to get stuck learning deep things in one of these topics, and you're going to get discouraged from going forward. So if you get bored with one, do the next one. If you get bored with that one, we'll do the next one, so on and so forth. You can always come back and increase your depth of knowledge on any topic. I hope this was useful to you. If it was, please like and subscribe. That helps me with YouTube algorithms, and I will see you in the next one.